Okay, in today's video, I mostly want to talk about the feminine energy and the narcissistic femininity. Also gonna mention some words about the mother complex, as the mother complex corresponds with the narcissistic femininity, and also some father complex, as why the females, as I feel like, became some sort of narcissist nowadays. As Kai Jung also mentioned, what you resist persist, and I just look around the world nowadays and I feel like the feminine energies is just so repressed. It's like everyone's just so stressed because of the pressure of the society and because of this of the consumer society. And I just noticed on the roads that it wasn't like this some years before. We're just driving on the road and someone just shows a tiny bit of vulnerability and other just goes around them and just try to put more pressure on them instead of just feel compassion towards each other. And this made me feel like their femininity in general just so repressed. It was kind of repressed among men for centuries before, but nowadays I feel like even women are scared to express their vulnerability because they have just some psychological pressure or some sort. Okay. Today I wanna mention uh, three more significant archetypes among women, what I feel like. So basically, females attached to this archetype, okay, there are sorts of feminine archetype as well, like the mother, the lover, the innocent, and so on others. But today I wanna come up with three main ones what can manipulate even their conscious ego to get what they want. We all know like females tend to manipulate men to get attention, mostly attention because that's what they need. And it all comes because of the father complex. So when we was born, none of us really get the proper amount of attention from our parents. So like, for example, attention from the father and attention from the mother. And however, both are really important. From both parents, attention are really important to a newborn baby. And I'm not really sure, but I reckon the most important attention for a baby is the mother's attention. Because without the mother's love, I think we just feel worthless and unlovable. So basically, our parents need to teach us how to love ourselves. If we don't get this one, we need to teach ourselves in an adult life to love ourselves as we were supposed to be loved as a baby and later on as a child. So, but because none of us men get the proper amount of attention and love from our mother, this is why the female, the narcissistic female, can take advantage of us. But maybe just not like taking advantage of, because women in general, they are more caring and yeah, they're more caring people than men. That's their part. That's their part or some sort of unconscious responsibility in society, like as a need to they need to get the children and carry the children, and they're more responsible for children in a young age than men. Okay, and yeah, because of their caring, that's the reason why men also can manipulate women, because the inner child of a man can manipulate the adult woman to take care of him. But it also works vice versa. Okay, I want to cover the first one as the queen archetype, because they are the alpha among women. So what I've noticed and experienced since I'm awakening more spiritually and notice these energies, I'm more aware about energies around me and around others as well. So queens in general, on a positive side, they are good leaders and they take charge and can be good leaders. But as I mentioned before, so the unhealed inner child can manipulate the archetypes and the conscious person to get from the outside world what the inner child didn't get as a child, when as a child, when she or he was a child, but in this case she. So the narcissist, I'm 100% sure the narcissism comes from the unhealed inner child, because we tend to, I don't say that force the outside world, but try to manipulate the outside, not the outside world, but people around us, family members, colleagues, friends, to get what we cannot give us consciously because we weren't taught how to do it. So it's also a kind of a mission and a fight to teach ourselves to give what we didn't get as a child. So basically reparent ourselves. Okay, go back to the queen. So the queen archetype on a shadow form can be too can project the expectation onto others. So like she expects how she needs to be treated, and when the outside world doesn't show the expectation of the archetype, or the carrier of the archetype, tend to be manipulative and some sort of aggressive as well, like these outbursts, anger, rage. So they are highly manipulative, and they mostly attack those men who have a less healed inner child, because those men are the most they are the most vulnerable for the carrier of the queen archetype. But I've just mentioned the carrier of the queen archetype, but I have to say that all women carries these archetypes, but I forgot to mention that these are dominant archetypes. So these people, like someone who has a dominant queen archetype, those naturally have a blonde or lighter colored hair, but mostly blonde. They can, and that's the most important, that men needs to also get in touch with their feminine side. Otherwise, if they don't do, they are more became vulnerable to the feminine energy as like narcissistic woman. So more you're attached or more you're connected, not attached, sorry, more you're connected to your feminine side, you're gonna be less vulnerable to narcissistic feminine behavior. It's like basically you're gonna focus more on your inner world, like feelings and emotions, than try to get the feminine energy from women. So that's really important, I guess. Not I guess, but I suggest for men like me as well, because I've worked on myself in the past months, years. And there's a problem with society because society some sort of expect us to repress our emotions and try to be try to hide our feelings and emotions and just try to show that everything is okay within us. It's not, because we are all human beings. We all have like bad days, weeks, and so on others. Okay, I'm just sorry for this turn away from the topic. Go back to the queen archetype because I haven't finished about the queen archetype. Yeah, I mentioned that this archetype is one of the most dangerous for men because of, I assume that most of us has an unhealed inner child, and probably most of us haven't even or aren't even aware of it. Okay, what I've noticed about the queen archetype that they can play this hide and seek game. So I experienced a blonde woman like some weeks before that I met in Tesco, and she looked nice. She looked okay, but it's probably been an illusion. Just it was just an energy, but the feminine use. It's all about energy basically. We don't really focus on each other's body. It's about the energy, and I just try to ignore her, just notice her, and just try to ignore her and do my own business, do the shopping, and I just kept thinking about her. I didn't even want to think about her, and just looked away. I've seen her again at the till, and I went back to focus on scanning my items and looked back and just kept thinking about where is she, where is she? I want to see her again. So basically, that's the feminine trick of the game. You want to see her again because her beauty grabbed you. But basically, it's not even the beauty, it's just about an energy and a mind trick. So yeah, and they can manipulate you with their some sort of spiritual smell, or maybe that's their smell, but just uses you. They use their energy as well to put these thoughts into your head. And yeah, I just want to smell that nice smell because it's nice and so on. But I reckon it's nothing even special, just feminine energy do the trick in your mind. Um, what else they are capable of? If you want to date with a narcissistic queen, a narcissistic woman who possess the queen archetype, they tend to use this tactic that promising things yeah, for example, you discuss an appointment, you for example are gonna meet at a day, at a time, at a place, and and when you agree to meet, they basically gonna say that yeah, you're gonna meet with her there, and for example just go there and she doesn't turn up. That's also a trick. So basically they just want you to think about her and chase her and so on things, but it's don't even deal with the moon. Just get rid of this kind of a moon, because it's all about her insecurity. They try to manipulate you, and just they goes for your soul energy and waste your time. So as soon as you experience anything like this, just ignore this woman, because if she's done it once, she's gonna do it again, because it's all about her insecurity. This is how she tried to take control over your feelings and your sober mind. Yeah. Okay, now I want to mention about the I reckon, or I live in England, so these archetypes most common. I'm gonna come with a warrior as well later on. I'm gonna mention after the magician, or can call a mystic archetype, but I do call them witches as well, because in their shadow side they can behave like witches. So their natural hair color are black or some sort of dark brown, some sort of darkish hair color. So these women dangerous because I think the sexual energy is one of the strongest among the archetypes. So the mystic or magician woman uses her sexual energy to seduce or manipulate men. It's also about their insecurity. So when they feel attractive, sexually attractive, this is how they feel powerful. This is what gives their power and just make them forget about their insecurities. Because also, if they can get something from inside, from themselves, they try to get it from the outside world. And because we men, mostly because of the societal pressure, repressed our feminine vulnerability and feelings and emotions. We try to get it from the outside world, from women, and that's why it makes like a vicious circle. So basically, we're not gonna be self-sustained. We try to get everything from others. However, we could give it for ourselves, but this is the rule of the toxic society, and women take advantage of it. So because they use their sexual energy as a manipulation, that's why they can also get men into this they can control men with this mind control because of their sexuality, and probably use their no mind, it's not that important. They use it basically. I've noticed that magician woman mostly been taken to physical abuse in early childhood, and that's the reason magician or mystic woman can take they can take the masculine energy of a man, and that's why they use this power to some sort of prevent future possibility to happen it again, because they couldn't heal their own traumas. So they attach to this archetype some sort of self-protection. But also it's not good. It also doesn't good because of the manipulation. Just tension just build up within man, and what's gonna happen? The past recreates itself. So basically, because of the manipulation and tension just build ups within men, that they lose their masculinity and they can't protect themselves or something, they tend to use some sort of maybe verbal or verbal, or in extreme cases physical aggression towards women because of these manipulation tactics. That's also a very dangerous game from these women. As I mentioned about creating some sort of creating illusions from the queen archetype, the magician woman can create illusions as well, and maybe these illusions is more dangerous than the queen archetype, or it's harder to notice. For example, you fall in love with a woman and I don't know, just realize that you put herself in first instead of yourself, and after a while notice that you just want to break up from her, you want to do your own business or something. And when you split up and your energy comes back, you realize that you don't even understand what you've seen in her, because she's nothing special. It was the manipulation, the illusion she created. She doesn't even look that good as you've seen her in your mind, because she creates these illusions, and if you're not aware of it, you're not spiritual enough aware of it, this illusion just grabs you. And um and yeah, basically they create these illusions that they look better than they are, because they are insecure about, for example, their nose, about their body. So they create these illusions to look way better in your eyes than they actually are. And as I mentioned before in the queen archetype, that man needs to trust their own feelings, not that just their logical mind, because the feelings is a feminine, and if the man doesn't get in touch with their feelings and just, for example, live in their head, they are easily being manipulated by the feminine energy, by a narcissistic woman. They can basically put thoughts into your head. They try to convince this is their spiritual power. They can, some sort of a way, put thoughts into your head if you're not get in touch with your feelings, if you don't focus on yourself. They can, for example, they can put thoughts into your head that they look good, how good their body is, how good they are, how great they look, and so on things. And these thoughts just keep repeating in your mind, so you're gonna believe these things, and when you're gonna meet with them, you're gonna just see this illusion instead of the real actual reality. So that's magician woman is really dangerous as well, or like not that magician woman, but the magician archetype for against men. Yeah, and what I've noticed also that these women who possess the magician archetype and especially the shadow archetype, they're just, when they operate in their shadow form, their their pure presence can be really draining for men. They can basically drain your energy, they can drain your life energy, because they're not connected to their soul. They do not even want to fight, because I think it's also like it's the society that, like, the female expectation that the man's gonna sort it out for me. I'm talking in like behalf of women, that the man's gonna deal with it and I don't need to do it. You know, like the queen's gonna be saved by the hero and so on things. It's not. Women needs to work on themselves as well as men, just the opposite way, or like their own way. So that's, I assume that women need to forget about, no one's gonna save anyone. Everyone needs to save themselves, and everyone needs to work on themselves. This is the only way. Of course, we can share suggestions and advice to each other, but the work needs to be done for ourselves. Um, they can be really aggressive as well, maybe as aggressive as the possession of the queen archetype, and maybe more, I think it's more, some sort of a way more dangerous, because they can drain you there, they can drain you there. Pure presence is draining, even if in the same household. Like, for example, you leave someone with a with a woman who possesses the archetype, and when they operate on their shadow form, and you just feel drained, and for example you go for a walk and just feel so refreshed, and you come back home and just feel getting to feel drained again because of their pure presence, that they training presence. Yeah. What can be a sign to what can be a sign to notice that illusion? Only one thing they can't hide. They cannot create an illusion about themselves. It's about some sort of bad odor because of this trauma, or carry this kind of a trauma. They try to create illusions with the magician archetype, but they cannot hide the bad odor, and that's what can help you. That's the only way that you realize that you're not even attracting them. It's just an illusion. The odor, the smell's gonna hide them that you're not even attracting them. It's just an illusion what they create. And yeah, I mentioned like all of them has some sort of a bad habit, like smoking or eating, and some sort of a way you're gonna notice it. Um, yeah, and the third one, I don't even know if I mentioned it. So the third one, and I know the less about this archetype. This is the warrior, or other ways they called it the huntress archetype. I call it as warrior because we all has a warrior archetype. In men as well, we have a warrior archetype, and I don't think I need to feminize this archetype. I can say it as a warrior archetype as well. Or like, for example, no, the word not gonna come to my mind. Okay, they are can uh, easily recognized by the ginger or reddish hair, or as I mentioned, that these archetypes changes in women as well. So males, but everyone has a dominant archetype, but it needs to be imagined as dominant archetype. But everyone has a dominant archetype. But in some cases, depends on the life cycle, or what we need to achieve in life. This dominant archetype can go to the background, and a permanent, no, a temporary dominant archetype can come to the surface. This one notice that sometimes, like for example, a dark-haired woman, which are usually the mystic, the magician, they dye their hair to blonde or lighter hair. This happens because they want to get connected to the queen archetype. They want to they want to improve their leadership abilities, or like take charge of their own life, because that's why magician women, they are more introverted. They live in their own world, but the queen archetype, woman who temporarily, or at that stage of their life, possess the queen archetype, they are more outgoing, they are more like socializing, and so on. Okay, just to go back to the very archetype, I cannot mention so much about this one because I don't have so much experience. I mostly have experience about the queen and the magician mystic archetype. Yes, I forgot to mention, because women mostly repress their masculine side, but they started repressing their feminine side as well. As I've noticed, they just do not express their vulnerability as they before. But as we men, we try to repress, because like we lived in a society, and maybe still living, like the society expect the men to be men, more manly, and repress our feminine aspects of our personality. And the same from women, they society expect women to be more feminine than just a whole. So because women repress their masculine energy, that's their masculine energy tend to be projected onto men. That's why the animus, as Carl Jung mentioned, the so-called animus, the soul energy, or like the contrasexual aspect of the personality, or like it was called, maybe the best one is like who the word was the word, or it was mentioned as the relating function. So because women repress their masculine side, it tends to be projected onto the onto men. So that's what happens when men fight against each other for women. And maybe this is why the warrior in this case, one of the most dangerous in this case, when men turn to tend to turn against each other for a woman, and that's the warrior archetype in its shadow form. So because the warrior, the woman who, and that's why it's a bit hard for them who has a dominant function, for a woman who has a dominant function of a warrior archetype, because it's kind of in the modern society, as I mentioned before, because society expect women not to be that masculine, but probably the woman who possesses dominant function as a warrior archetype, those women are the most masculine women in a general form. And because they repress their masculine energy in a close proximity, they unconsciously project those masculine energy onto men. So for example, I've experienced like a ginger woman, sorry for the expression, the woman who possessed, because the ginger hair, a reddish hair, can be easily recognized, someone who possessed the warrior archetype as a dominant archetype. And I was just walking on the street, and I seen a woman like this talking to a guy, and I just looked at her because of the seductive feminine energy, looked at her, and I noticed the negative energy of the man. So basically the projection already started to men to be turned against each other because of this masculine energy. Yeah. Okay, I wanted to mention about the queen archetype. Yes. So I remember the one thing is about the queen archetype, that it can be recognized, but this is a positive aspect, as queen needs to have a king to rule together properly. Like for example, small group of people. It's always like a social dynamics. Always gonna be more dominant people, less dominant people, just gonna be like the followers and so on things. The queen positive archetype is also can it also can be recognized who just pretend to be a queen, or who has a real dominant queen. Someone who has a real dominant queen archetype can can choose a king, can choose a queen, king, not queen, sorry, can choose a king. So basically, a queen in its positive form can promote a king. That's maybe can be um, an easy point to notice to for example, distinguish a real dominant, a person who possess a real dominant queen archetype, or someone who just wants to be um, a queen who just behaves like a queen. Okay, I want to mention again about a little bit of the mother complex and the father complex. So in my case, I have a sister, and my parents were a bit absent. So basically, when I was young, my father rejected me as so basically rejected me, and because of that I have rejection trauma when I was like about 4, 5-ish years old. And because of that reason, I felt like I never really had a father figure in my life. And I was more, I was more a, approached, or like got close to women when I was younger. And the bad thing is, because of the mother complex. Oh yeah, I need to get back to the what the mother complex been created in my life in early childhood. So when my mother was pregnant with my father, at that time my father wasn't really an I don't mean to judge any of my parents or anyone, because they didn't know about these things. They have also their own traumas. They haven't realized, maybe have realized they didn't want to work on, because trauma comes with pain, and most of us run away from the pain. I think no one has relaxed to feel pain, and it's completely understandable. But healing comes with pain that needs to be acknowledged. So because of this thing that my father wasn't real, not like psychologically wasn't a man, that's the reason he couldn't give the emotional need of my mother as a pregnant woman. And when I was born, I unconsciously took this sort of a mission, so called, or like this, I don't call it as opportunity, but I felt like, no, unconsciously the baby felt like the need to give emotional need for the mother. So that's the reason between an unhealthy attachment got created between the the mom and the child. And also have a trauma from my mother, and abandonment trauma, because when I was like 6, as I read, like in till 7 year old, a child mind's just being programmed. And those traumas a child suffers, it's basically for a lifetime, unless they start to heal themselves. So because of this one, I got an abandonment trauma from my mom. And I think because of this, I got more connected to my sister and one of my aunt, and also created some sort of maybe a mother complex, some sort of a mother complex with them as well, because they looked after me and so on other things. And now I'm just 29 and just noticing these patterns, these lines, these psychological lines, and I just feel like I'm not really myself. I'm being manipulated, and probably they don't do it consciously because it's all in the unconscious. these are unconscious programs and some sort of a lines one needs to free ourselves from. And because of this thing with my mother, because of the mother complex, I noticed myself when I've had my first serious relationship with my ex-girlfriend that I just started sacrificing my own happiness and my own individuality just to put their own happiness first, and I focused on her happiness more than on my own happiness. Just tried to constantly try to figure out how to cheer her up, how to make her happy. And I was just completely forgot about what makes me happy, what I like doing and so things. And then I was just like enjoying myself and did something and have a good time. And just a thought popped into my head that what about my girlfriend? If she's okay, if she's happy, and so on other things. It all comes from the mother complex, and I just on myself that I was too compassionate with my sister and my mom, and when I noticed things, I just started to distance myself because I had to free myself from the mother complex. And maybe the one of the first step is to keep some sort of a physical distance, at least move out, not to live together with the physical mom anymore, or like the person who just uh, behaved as a mom, for example, a stepmother or something. And it's also good to keep distance from aunts or sisters who had a role in the male's life in early childhood. It's a bit hard as a beginning, but we need to learn to look after ourselves and give the emotional needs for ourselves, because that's the that's the that's what gonna give us to protect ourselves from the toxic femininity, and not to let ourselves to be manipulated and make conscious own decisions. Okay, I want to talk about a little bit of the father complex as well. So, so yeah, the father complex, and we can. Uh, okay, I think I mentioned the father complex. I don't need to talk about the father complex anymore. Yes, this video is mainly made for made for men, just to have them who, for those men who hasn't realized yet about the female manipulation and why these things are happening, and or maybe they already realized that they are being manipulated, they just haven't noticed these tricks and maybe have to defend against them. So yeah, we need to, in a man, we also meant together, like, I think it was just a toxic masculine energy when we just it was among men that we just take a joke about other men who express their vulnerability, but I think this time is over and we need to accept vulnerability in each other and feel, or, or just express more compassion towards each other, because I think that's the only way. And I remember that I had hard times to express my vulnerability and my feelings and emotions, but I just realized expressing my vulnerability and um, my weak aspects of my personality doesn't make me weak. It just makes me whole. It doesn't mean I'm a weak person. I have weak moments and I'm vulnerable from time to time, but it doesn't mean I'm a weak person. And moreover, I feel like I'm a even more powerful person since started expressing my vulnerabilities and my feminine side. um, Oh yes, and one thing to mention, I wanted to mention this one because it's really important. So some women, they can be so extreme that they can use your compassion as manipulation. And you have compassion to each other from time to time, but you need to recognize the real compassion when you need to be compassionate. Because real compassion, it comes from the soul. You don't need to, it doesn't need to come from be forced to be compassionate towards someone. When you feel someone really suffering or has a bad moment, you just naturally be compassionate because they, I notice they can use their compassionate personality on their own advantage. So yeah, this one, as I mentioned, this video made for basically for men to real to awake or just to share my experience about toxic femininity and tactics against this toxic femininity. But it can be also made for women who just basically realize that the shadow archetype took control over their conscious personality. They just do things they don't really want to, and just to defend themselves against the shadow aspect of the each archetypes. Because I've gone through my archetypes as well, and they have shadow side as well, and they have to learn and realize the capability of the shadow aspect of the archetypes. So yeah, hopefully I could help others with this video, with sharing my knowledge and experience. So yeah, see you next time.